Onegaishimasu.
Okay, good. We'll just start loosen up a little bit. Find the ground. Letting the feet find the ground. And to get front and back swinging. Hands against the sides. And it's a little bit of rotation. Hands can inside, outside. Just mixing directions a little bit. Take into a nice deep breath in, reaching up. Hinging the way down, all the way down. Deep breath out. Right up to the spine. Last one, and just let the body release down after the out breath. And just mobilizing the shoulders, head. Nice and slowly drawing to standing. Stay into the head, circling one way. And change direction. And take to the shoulders. And change. Circles one side. And change. Changing the arm. Changing direction. Mobilizing around the shoulders. And rolling forwards. And circle hips. And change direction. And gently into rhythmic circles. and away. Bring the feet together, circling one way. And change. Just take the leg back, rolling through the ankle. With a light fist rolling through the wrists. And change the other way. Switching up, open the hands up. Changing direction. We'll just take a little bit of foundation training work with the breath work. So just bring the toes together, touch them together. Think about pressing the big ball of the foot, where the big toe is, just below the toe. Think about spreading to the outside edge of the foot. And just start to set weight into the heel. So as you do that, you start to release the knee a little bit. So start the upper thigh starts to come together. Just a touch, push the hip back a little bit, 5-6 centimeters. We're just going to use the first position just on the base of the rib cage, top of the pelvis, and just take a couple of nice big deep breaths. As you're doing them, just keep going back to the feet, pressing down all those contact points. Keep the knees soft. A little bit of internal rotation in the hip, a little bit of squeeze together with the thigh, rolling it together. And think about just gently drawing up the body. We'll just use a few hand positions just to help with the breath work. So start with this one. Just feel like you're kind of breathing up with this one. So breathe big into the chest. And as you breathe out, try and maintain all that space up. So create length up. Create length down from the hip into the feet. Squeeze the weight down to the ground a little bit. If you can, a little bit longer with the exhale. Breathing with the nose. Go to a second position, which is just to take the side of the hand and just press it into the hip bone. So taking the little finger side, squeeze it in, start to feel that you can spread across the shoulders. So not to squeeze the shoulder blades together, but to create length across the shoulder blades. So imagine it look like an elastic band across the elbows. And as you do the breath work, just expand across that side position. Keep that squeeze going down in the feet, pull the contact points down, keep the knees soft, hips turning, head nice and long, drawing off the rib cage. Third hand position, just going to spread the hands off the ground, off the body, pull the hands long. Again, just create a little bit of width through the body. Active with the forearms and the hands. Spread the arms back, pull the body up long. Big, long, expansive breaths. Fourth position, just going to scoop the hands forward, squeeze the hands together, fingers squeezing. Add a little bit of a pull down of the elbows, so as if you're just gently pressing weight down, trying to you activate the lats muscles in the back of the body. Keep that squeeze going in the feet, knees unlocked, hips rotating inside, rotating internally. Looking nice and strongly forward, around about the horizon line. And just reverse out of this position now. So scoop the hands back, press the weight into the arms. Nice and active with the hand. Take a nice deep breath in, out. Squeeze back onto the side of the body. Think about just externally rotating the thumbs, pulling them away. Spread the back nice and long, nice and wide. Pull the body nice and tall. And last one, just go to that measuring stick position. Spreading the elbows. Breathing big into the back. And just last check on the feet. Squeeze the feet down. Full contact point. Inside, outside. Heel. Knees are unlocked. Gently turn the rotation of the hip. Last breath. And then just release it, shake out a little bit. If you have any tension in the body, just shake it out. And then we'll just go into a hinge position. So just set the feet a little bit wider. Outside edge of the feet are parallel, so you've got a very subtle internal rotation. Same feeling, just start with the feet to spreading those 3 contact points, ball of the foot, outside edge of the little toe, and then the back of the foot in the heel. Unlock the knees very gently, and then just start to hinge the hips back. In this case, you're just going to use the hands to chop the hips back, and then just let the body pull back to center. So you're just chopping the hips, knees drawing back. Keep all those contact points in the ground, and then spread back to the ground. So don't think that you're pulling the hips forward, just that you're resetting them back into a neutral position. Again, all the time keeping the knees free, unlocked. Nice deep breaths as you do it. Good. And then just pull the arms into a wide position. Set the hips back just a touch, and then think about scooping forward as you reach the hips back a little bit further. Scoop forward, squeeze them together. That lat activation is still there, and then pull back to that wide position. So think about spreading the hands forward, scooping them with weight, pulling the hips back, and then pressing the hands back, scooping them through water. Just do a few hinges here, so nice deep breath in, reach the hips out, hands forward, and pull back. Again, just as you're doing it, just checking those points, the points of the feet, contact point with the ground, the knees are soft, subtle internal rotation at the hip. Good. Eyes are just leading forward, looking to the horizon. Good. And then from there, we'll go to the full kind of movement with this. So you're going to hinge the hips back, reach forward. Take a nice deep breath in here. Take a breath out. Next in breath, you're going to keep the hips where they are, reach the hands up. Nice and high. Keep the head looking forward. Take a nice deep breath in and out. And then you're going to keep the extension all the way, just to the point where you need to round the back. Reach the hands into the ground. Active with the hand position. Take a couple of big deep breaths here, especially into the back of the rib cage now. So keep the hip back, nice deep breath in. Out. Very gently start to pull the hips back a little bit further, walk the hands a couple of inches. A little bit further. Create a lot of extension now through the spine. If you imagine someone just gently pulling the hips back and you're clinging into the ground with the hands all the way to the feet. Draw the hands to the shin bone, pressing quite strongly to the shin bone. Pull the back nice and long like a tabletop. Just check that contact point with the feet again, and then you're just going to slowly draw the body up. Just stop at the top of the knee with the fingers. So just want to find a position where the arms are lengthened, extended. Just still in that hinge position. And we'll just go through those 3 positions we did before. So you're going to squeeze into the side of the hip bone. Pull the back nice and long. Take a nice deep breath. Bring hands just a little bit off the body. Scoop. A little bit of bend in the arm, but really starting to activate the back of the arm, forearm, hand. Scoop and hands forward, squeeze the fingertips together. We'll just have one more hand position. You're going to squeeze the hands together, squeeze the forearms together, and just bring them up, around about level with the face. If that feels comfortable, without shrugging the shoulders up, just start to raise the hands up a little bit higher, just a touch higher. And you can either pulse this one if it feels fine, or you can hold it at the top. And you squeeze the forearms together, keep the shoulders back and down. Squeeze the forearms together, squeeze the hands together. Come out of it, pull the hands back. Take a nice deep breath in. Release it with the out breath. Just shake out anything. You feel tension. Shake it up a little bit. Just go to a lunge position now. So this one, go into a quite wide position. So if you start with the feet together, that subtle kind of internal rotation at the hip again. Just unlock the back leg. Let it go to the back. Just the first check is the hip. Make sure the hips are basically square on, so you don't want to be where the hips already leading out. So hips are square on. Back toes just very subtly rotated towards the front heel. And then from that, we'll just play with hinging forward. So if you start with that first position we did, measuring stick position, you just want to start to lean the weight forward. And as you just reach the hand out with it. So reach one hand off the body, and then pull it back. So you're just getting the weight secting forward into that front foot, hinging over it. You want the same kind of contact points in the feet. In this case, the back foot, you've just got those 2 points of contact. But same idea, you've got the knees are unlocking, soft, got very subtle internal rotation at the hip. Reaching out, leading. Good. And then we're just taking to a little bit of rotation work. So if you bring the hand out where you were just before, bring the other hand to meet it, squeeze the fingertips together, and just play the rotation out so the hands stay level, and you're just rotating into that front leg. Keep that front leg really stable, and it's going to be the back, hip and back foot, which you're going to kind of lead and open the mobility with it. And the trunk just basically follows it. Follow with the head and the eyes as well. You're just leading across the horizon line. And then come back to the center position. We'll just go into a spiral position. So the back hand's going to start to spiral under this way, and the top hand's going to spiral over the top of it. So you take in that spiral position, start to lead all the weight now really into the front leg. Reach out as far as you can, and start to play with a little bit of feeling that the front hip can start to lead back as well. So create an opening, that front hip, knees still unlocking. Start to take the hands forward, pull the hips back, take a couple of deep breaths. And then from that, keeping all that weight in the front leg, most of the weight in the front leg, start to lead the hands up just as high as you can, comfortably. Reach them up, reach them up, reach them up. And again, it's just opening that length through the front leg, up into the hands. Wherever you get to, just take a couple of deep breaths there. So hold it, anchor the body into the ground. Take yourself out of it, pull back to center, bring the feet together, take the other leg back, and again, we just do the same setup. So just start with the hips, square them out, square them off, back foot just gently points towards the front heel, find that measuring stick position, nice and tall, and then lead with the back hand, hinge over the front hip, and pull back, reach out, lead, back, reach out, lead, back. And then same thing there, just find that find the back hand, meet it with the front hand, squeeze the fingertips together, feel you're nice and strong anchored in that front leg, and then just start to test it with a bit of rotation. Let the back hip, back foot follow the rotation. Head, chest, torso, everything follows. Pulling back to that center position, and then again taking into a spiral into that lead leg. taking most of the way down to that front leg. Take a nice deep breath in. And again, with it, just keeping that weight distribution, start to pull the hands up just as high as you can into that spiral. Reach them up, reach them up, reach them up. Wherever you get to, just take a couple of deep breaths in it. And then next one, just release it out. Pull back to center. Shake out the legs a little bit. Great, last one, just going to a bit of rotation work again for the body. Just set the legs a little bit wider in this case. Yeah, still with a little bit of internal rotation, but you need a bit less now, so the outside edge of the foot is just going to be kind of parallel though. Start with just a bit of a hip hinge, so just reach the hips back, just unlock it. So they're going equally back, a little bit of a chop. Bring them back, a little bit of a chop, bring them back. And then just take the hip to one side now. You're going to take it not just to the side, but also to the back. And then with the opposite hand to the hip, so this hip, this hand's going to reach forward. Pull back to center, this hip, this hand. So you're going to triangulate the hip up. Take it to one side, just trying to get one hip. Get a little bit more motion than the other. Reaching the hand out at the same time. Reaching across the body. And then with that, just take the hand down a little bit. So you're just going to shoot it to the ground. Shoot it to the ground. And you've got one hip doing a little bit more work than the other. So you've got one hip. Move back a little bit more. And you've got the opposite side hand reaching to the ground. Think as much kind of tensioning up as it's down. Do it. Good. And then we're going to the full form with this one, so it's going into a windmill pose. So if you start with the hips just hinge back subtly, find that front position with the hands. And then you're just going to start to lower the hand, that spear down to the ground. Just float it off the ground. And then what you're looking for is just to spear the hands into the ground, the fingers down. A little bit of space between the hands, and then we'll just alternate sides with this one. Just take the thumb to the inside, one side. Again, let the hip lead this out. Hips, so you're just going to draw the hand up. Reach to the top of the shoulder, and then just pull it back down, and then take it to the other side. So roll the thumb into the center of the palm, raise up to the shoulder, squeeze it back down. Just take a breath in as you do it. Nice big deep breath in, and then spear the hand back down to the ground. Set the hips each time, set the feet, and then again you're letting the hips have a nice solid foundation to find the movement. And then the last few with this one, you're going to reach up to the ceiling with it. So find that rotation up to the shoulder, extend out through the hand, also looking up to the top hand. Take a nice deep breath in as you're up there. And then just let it swing back down in this one, so it's just going to arc away from the body, meet the ground, find the other side. So bring it right up, reach up, look up. Take a deep breath in. And then just let it arc away, back down to the ground, and just do a couple on each side. Great. And then we're just doing a couple, just find that front position again. So spear the hands into the ground, set the hips again so they're even. Press into the shin bone, nice and strong, pull the back long. And we just go straight out to this one, so just draw the body up nice and slowly. Pull that to neutral. Shake out where there's any tension in the body. Very good. Great, we'll just loosen up just a little bit, just at that top. Just releasing the arms down, a little bit of an incline in the body. the legs. Release the whole body up. Okay. Great. Okay, grab a bokken. Continue what we were looking at yesterday. So look at these kind of compression patterns going in yesterday. We'll go straight into the first 𝗧𝗪𝗏 with this one. And just focus again on the feet. So if you think about spreading the weight to the back leg, and then really letting the front leg settle, and then the weight goes even into the feet. So you're just trying to meet the movement with a real feeling of the feet, finding the ground, sink all the way to the back leg, and then let it even out to the front. Nice big clear arc through the cut. This is a little bit of a subtle point. It's quite tricky to show in Zoom or wherever, but think about this. You've got this hip motion, which is like this kind of front and over, or top and over. Think about it. There's also very subtle internal movement of the hip as well. So as you find the cut with it, there's still a kind of motion of the hip where you're going to kind of roll through the spiral position. So focus on the front hip as you do it. So it's this position as you go down into it. There's going to be a little bit of a roll through into it. The way to kind of feel this is just start to take your attention to the inside of the thigh. So the inner thigh is going to be active through the movement, and you're looking to go to, again, a really strong connection through the knee. The knee's soft, and then you're going to kind of glue the foot into the ground. So this kind of motion this way, rather than just a kind of just a simple kind of hinge down of the foot. There's a very subtle spiral that's rolling through that front hip. It's happening also in the back hip, but the front one's just a little bit easier to feel. And if the front one's doing it, the back one tends to follow. So just feel as you do it. There's a few ways you can play with it. You can obviously just do the cut itself, or you can play with just a kind of a raise in and just this kind of motion. So rather than it just being a straight linear up and down, there's a little bit of a roll through the hip. So there's a very subtle sensation happening with the hip. It's not big. So it's quite a tricky one to find. When you open this out, so YOKOMEN work gets much bigger, clearer. Just play with this. Is a bit tricky to feel it, but play with this. It's the difference if you go to the hand in this position, and it's going to follow the hip. It's the difference between just going like this, like over the top of the hip, and going like this, which is like really deep in the hip, and you're going to kind of create the extension through a little bit of a subtle spiral rotation at the hip. So it's rather than again just going like up over the top of the hip, You're going like really through the hip, so it's very subtle. If you feel the difference, it's really the difference between like going over the top of the hip and really going like through the hip. Very subtle. But it starts to kind of open out later when you start to open the hand positions, open the bokken work. That's it. Yeah, good. Good. And then just bringing it back into sort of mixing left and right, in this case working with a zengo. And again, you're just looking for that very subtle rotation of the hip. Zengo is a nice pattern to work with it because you're very mobile with the hip and you're just descending the hip down into it. But it's very easy to just go into a flat hip pattern. See if you can add a little bit more of, again, very subtle rotation through the hip work. So the hip stays open. And it's just getting a little bit more of a stronger extension as well. So if the body's kind of working in this kind of way, you can extend out a little bit more. So that's a little bit more of an arc away from the body. The body's kind of anchoring down really strongly into the feet. And it's very different from a feeling of just going up over the top of the hip. That's it. Very good. And again, taking it back to compression patterns, this really matters in terms of compression pattern because if I'm going just over the top of the hip and I kind of place the weight into the foot, what happens is the body starts to go over the hip and then the hip basically gives you a kick back. So what happens is the leg starts to brace as you do it and then the knees lock and then the ankle kind of mobility you lose it. So this kind of feeling going over the hip, this kind of feeling going over the hip, or this feeling going like through the hip. And just play with it, in this case without the sword, just mix in left and right. And you look in this case, just add a little bit more of a up-down motion of the foot. And what you're looking to do is again, just look for the hip to be free. So it goes into that very subtle rotation at the hip, front hip. Back hip again is also doing it, it's finding it. But what you're looking to do is as you press the weight down, the body's still free. And particularly the knees, so there's a kind of softness in the knees. And this matters a lot when you go into kind of 𝘭𝘪𝘴 work. But again, just operating through the leg in the way that it's going to allow the hip to stay free. The knees stay free, doesn't lock the body up. So the test of it, or if you want to experiment with it, is just add a little bit more weight into the body and just feel what happens with the structure. So you should still get a kind of free feeling in the body. The knees still free. And the main feedback on this is if it's bracing the structure of the leg and the upper body's basically stuck on top of the hip. Just an experiment with placing the weight, feeling really free in the body. Yeah, Good, great. And then again, just an expansion of this rotation work. In this case, still work with a 𝘭𝘪𝘫 through it, but you're going to step and enter into it now. So step into it, find the center line, and then just step back with the foot. Again, it's just assessing the ability of the hip to stay free with it. So you step into the rotation. Again, working with that spiral, it's going to just extend and open. Find the top of the head, and then just cutting back with it. So you roll into it with the step, and then you come back with the cut this way. Stepping through into it, cutting back with it, and just take a few really slow with it, so you can really study again what's happening at the hip and the knee down into the foot. So the more freedom the hip has, the more unlocked the knee can be. Smoother the rotation can be, and easier the body can find the ground. And the feedback is again is what's happening in the upper body with the sword. You're just trying to avoid basically bracing structures with the leg. Try and get the feeling of really plugging into the ground in a very supple way. way. And what's happened at the point of the hip is really where it's going to kind of create a really clear pathway to the ramp, or kind of a braced pathway again. That's nice. You've got an added thing in this case, in that when you're cutting, you're going back with it. So it's a nice one to play with, again, this feeling in this case. Think about the body, particularly the back of the body as you enter the rotation, really spreading into this direction. So you're trying to meet the cut forward with a sense of the back really spreading into that position. So think about really moving the body into like a soft, heavy structure at the back and pressing the back of the body into it. And again, you're trying to counter what's happening in the front of the body with a really strong full back. The danger of this one is I start to get lost in the up part and I get lost in the forward. So you're just always trying to meet the opposing direction. So where the action is going, in this case the sword cut forward, and meet it with a sense of really full, strong back as you do it. So imagine you're kind of squeezing the back into space for your region. Yes. Good, great. Good, great. Okay, good. We'll take this into like a fifth 𝗧𝗫𝗏, but just on the spot for this case. And again, just work on really the hip work. And again, what's happening with the hip's really kind of crucial. It's going to start to really open out now, so that movement becomes a little bit bigger, a little bit clearer. And you're allowing it to release through the sword in that diagonal path now. So you've got two parts here. You've got the way you use the hips to raise the sword out, and obviously the descent through the cut this way. And you're trying to bring them together, just working with the feet in the same spot. And take your time with it. If you feel any kind of sticking point with the movement, just play with it. You can also kind of reverse in and out of this pattern. Give me a good sense of balance through it, but you just want the hips are going to be free, knees unlocked, feet nice and grounded. So the work you're doing really with this one is the center, and the feeling that it's really going to pass to the foot. So get the key with this, is the knee's going to allow it and the hip's going to allow it. But really think as you do this, it's the feeling that the center really goes like boom into the foot this way. The major issue with this one is kind of releasing forward before I've kind of done it. So if I lose the foot, in terms of the knee kind of flexing forward and I go out, the center's really got nothing to kind of fall into. So think about the center in this one just dropping into the ground. So it's really, again, much more a feeling of a downwards descent to the body rather than a kind of forwards kind of push of the body. So think about the center basically pressing the foot, and then from there again the hip's going to be mobile enough to just switch the feet in this case. So it's just basically a play of a roll of the center across the foot, and then you switch the foot away. Switch the foot, but there's really like a boom, this kind of feeling. And you're trying to really roll through the hips rather than kind of pass around. Yes. Good. And then from it, just start to go into a little bit of stepping work. Take a couple of cuts on each side. We're going to think about a kind of downwards descent of it. So you're looking to raise the sword, and again, you're going to do that from that downwards fall of the body towards the foot. Really find the foot with the center, and then let it roll through into the cut this way. So just play with a couple on each side. Cuts evenly left and right. Really focus on what's happening in the hip work, at the level of the hips. Really into kind of downwards descent of the body. And again, you're just looking to pass through the hips rather than over the top of them, rather than around them. So all the way through them. Nice. Great. And then start to expand the movement out a little bit. So rather than just working forwards, which is fine, you can stick with that. Start to play with a little bit of going into diagonal movements or patterns of the body. So that there's a few base patterns you work with forwards. You can work with angling out to the side. You can also, if you feel comfortable with it, just start to go into a little bit of rotation work. Don't worry about kind of going all the way around with this one. We're just focusing on the level of the hip and what movement is necessary for the hip and the knee to allow you to stay grounded. You can express that spiraling work through the hip work. Yeah, let's explore through the wheel a little bit. Okay. There's a couple of dangers with this movement. One is to get caught in the front and caught in the back. So I just showed a couple of them. The front one's easy. It's like I'm not really raising the sword. It's just kind of sticking around the front of the body. So I'm basically just passing the sword in this kind of area. I'm not really expressing the full cut. The other one is getting pulled to the back. So the movement's a little bit linear, and I get pulled at the back of the body. This is kind of going back to a pattern we do at the beginning of the set. We're looking at kind of 𝘱𝘰𝘠𝗪𝗐. But if I get pulled to the back with these kind of movements, everything's going to kind of draw out to the back, and again, I start to lose balance with it. So just play with it, but the main kind of tip with this is just the top of the right hand, the thumb, is just going to find the center line of the head as you do it, and it's going to pass through that area, right through, and then descend down from that. So that's your kind of point of contact with the center line. As you do it, you arrive there by going circularly up with the tip this way, but that's your kind of point at the top of the head. That's where your kind of center work is going to be kind of strongest. And again, it's where you can express the full range of the curve, rather than just kind of sticking at the front. And it's going to avoid this kind of idea of losing the back of the movement. So just the top of the head as you do it. Whichever pattern you find, you go forward with it, you stick to the top of the head. You go into rotation where you stick to the top of the head. Into diagonal where you stick to the top of the head with it. So it's just passing through the center line as you do it. It's kind of basic guide for it, just the top of the right hand. It's going to pass up to the center line of the head, like kind of cutting it parting. Nice. And then all this work of being really centered, grounded, balanced is so that you can just move basically again. So play with the Kinagari pattern, and you're just going to make 2 cuts with it. So mix them in freely. You can do a basic pattern is to just go forward with the 2 cuts. But again, if you feel comfortable with it, you mix them in freely. You can also work with going out to the side, going forwards. You can work with, if you feel comfortable, rotation work. Cutting again, but just look for a 2-cut pattern. So you're in the ground here, engage into the cut, find the ground and then straight away into the second one. And the feedback again is whether I can just move after that first cut. And that is the feedback on the Kinagari exercise. Not whether I can do them fast, but whether I can just continue to explore movement from the first cut. Just 1, 2. Very good. So it's a little bit going back to go forward, but just play with the second movement in this case. Fully ground the strike on the first one, and then play with just raising to the top of it this way. So you just want to feel the setup of the body here. So the main thing that happens with this, again, it's the same as the basic pattern, is the tendency to get lost in the front, basically lose the body this way. And if I just find this top position, it's just going to kind of focus on balancing the body through that step. So go to the cut, just find that top position, and I'm just establishing the front foot as I do it, and I'm just again reaching, finding that top position of the body. So it's just going to kind of prevent me from going too far to the front of the body, because if I hold this position, the body's just really very, very uncomfortable. And again, avoiding coming to the back of the body. Again, the body just feels very uncomfortable with it. So just use this pattern now. As you go into the second cut, just find the top. You're just looking for the structure to be balanced. You're in a dynamic balance position because you're really only on one foot. It's worthwhile just playing with it, just hang out a little bit at the top position. And it's just a check on where the balance is. Very good, very good. Nice. And then bring the second cut back in, but do it slowly. So what you're doing is now, again, full power into this one, and then just find that second cut. So again, you're just hanging out, slow it down that top position at the second cut. And then look for the weight to just descend down. So same Kinagari pattern, just slower, just with a little bit more intent, more focus on the balance at this point. Roll through this way. And that compression pattern that's happening, really just kind of releasing to the ground. Good, and last you just do full power, full speed, or as fast as you like to do it at the second cut as well. So you cut here, you cut here. The feedback on the exercise now, what happens after that second cut? So just listen to the body as you do it. Allow it to come back into balance. Drop it to the ground, and then start a new pattern with it. So you're just doing 2 cuts, very clear pattern. Finish, and just listen to the body at that point with the second cut. You can also, with this one again, start with the right side. Cut into the left. And then just listen to the structure as you do it. Where does the weight land? Is the body still mobile? And I should have still the feeling that I can just mobilize the structure again. Just look for both cuts now to be the same speed, same power. Good. Good. Okay, we will stop right there. Very good. Great. どうもありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
Okie dokie. Great.